For joining us today. Uh, my name is Patti, and I am the book launch coordinator at NGNG Enterprises. And joining me today is Destin Gerek. Destin is a globally recognized leading voice in masculinity, sexuality, and personal empowerment. He's the founder and CEO of the Evolved Masculine, a coaching and training company for men, and now a best-selling author of the book, The Evolved Masculine. Welcome, Destin, and thank you for meeting with us today.
Thank you for having me. Really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to diving in with you.
Great. Well, we began working on Destin's book launch around November of last year. The Evolved Masculine released on January 7th and became a #1 bestseller in 5 categories on day 1. So first of all, congratulations. How does it feel to be a best-selling author?
There was so much anxiety leading up to the book launch. Uh, I had high goals, so much that I wanted for it, and so many unknowns, and trying to understand this whole Amazon marketplace and how it works, and feeling overwhelmed. And uh, you and Amber brought more calm to the chaos, and it hitting those goals kind of exceeded some of my the goals I'd set. And I mean, I wanted to make sure that I wanted a #1 bestseller status, absolutely, but I certainly wasn't expecting 5. And that felt really good. It's created a lot of momentum that I've been able to continue to work with over these past couple months as well.
So, will you tell us a little bit more about your business? I'm sure those watching are just fascinated and want to know more, right?
Sure. So, first of all, here's the book, The
Oh,
Evolved
looks good.
Masculine. Be the man the world needs and the one she craves. Uh, my work and business is done under the umbrella of the Evolved Masculine. It is a personal development company that focuses on helping men form a healthier relationship to their masculinity, what it means to be a man, especially a good man in the 21st century, deepen their sense of confidence, their mission and purpose in the world, and reprogram their relationship to their sexuality. I speak of it as the Me Too movement was a giant mirror for men, that hey, maybe some of the programming that we've received around sex and women is a little flawed. And so my work is a lot about helping them form healthier, more productive relationships there that work better for everybody. And then, of course, connected to that is deepening their understanding of women and the feminine externally as well as internally.
So, without giving too much away, because I know you talk about it in the book, will you just tell us a little bit about how you found your calling?
Yeah. Uh,
Big question.
well,
I know.
there's a lot of heaviness there as well. That like many people who are deeply committed to their sense of mission and purpose, mine's rooted in pain, difficulty and wound. Uh, my high school girlfriend was raped on her 15th birthday just before we met. I ended up being the first person she told. We ended up being together for a few years. It had a massive impact on me, clearly on her as well, clearly, but it had its own impact on me. That I hit a point of exasperation around 18 years old, where I made a declaration to God, the universe, myself, that I was going to do everything I could with my life to create a world where things like this didn't happen anymore. Um, but in that process, I also took on some distorted messaging. I really kind of taking on a belief that men, and especially men's sexuality, are dangerous. And so I was unconsciously disconnecting from these parts of myself at the time period, like it's 16 to 18, 19 years old, where I should be really coming more into my sense of self, or transitioning from boyhood to manhood. So instead I retreated more into my feminine because it felt safer. and kind of went that way for the next decade until it became very clear that something was really out of balance and I needed to address this and address it now. And I did a deep dive into actively exploring my masculinity and what it means to me to be a man in the world, and what does healthy male sexuality look like. And yeah, it turns out to have been a very powerful, transformative journey and experience, so much so that it ended up becoming the root of the work that I do in the world.
So would you say that your book is, the content is more suitable for, maybe 18 and over, or more geared towards men 18 and over? Or do you feel like maybe, young men, let's say in high school, could also benefit from reading the content, or maybe it's not appropriate? Just kind of curious to get your thoughts on.
So we live in an internet age, an age
Yep,
of hardcore porn being available to 10-year-olds.
that's
So
right.
it's a little difficult to speak of like what's appropriate for the high
Sure.
school. I don't like, to avoid potential legal complications, I speak to and aim for 18 up, but I am aware I've been messaged by a 17-year-old boy, man, who read my book and was extremely impacted by it. Um, I can't put it in his hands, but I can't stop him from reading it. Uh, is there a lot of value there? Yeah. And I write no holds barred. I dive into the taboo. I write about things quite explicitly. And, might be at parental discretion. Uh, but
So,
I wrote it with a 25-year-old man in mind. That
okay.
said, I've had people across the age spectrum from 17 to 70 reportedly reading it, as well as probably half the readers have been women.
That's interesting. I think about it going back to the days when I was, 25 and dating, and I feel like I was so much more mature, than the men my age. And even now, so I have a son in high school, and just a lot of the girls his age even feel so much more mature than these boys, right? So I think it's definitely information that's needed for these guys for sure. And someone's got to tell the story, right? And someone's got to be out there helping these young men and coaching them, because where else are they going to turn for the information? The internet isn't always reliable. So
No, no, it's not.
it's good
And
work that you're
the
doing
folks
for
with the
sure, even
largest
though it's a touchy
following,
subject.
the folks with the largest followings are not necessarily the folks with the greatest real value to add.
So was there
So,
something specific that, some kind of message you received that said, I have to write a book? You have the coaching business, the Evolved Masculine was already formed, but what really inspired you to think, all right, I got to sit down and write a book about this now?
well, I avoided writing my book for years. Like I've had I've had hundreds of people ask me for my book before I finally broke down and started writing. Um, and that's not a bad place to be. There are a lot of people who write books that nobody's interested in. So, but I was really resistant. I my story that I kept telling myself is I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher, I'm a leader, I'm not a writer. That's not a very good mantra to instill in yourself if you're going to put a book out. So I had to overcome that belief. And the truth has been more, I'm actually a very good writer. I just agonize over the process of writing. And that was true through the writing of this book. It was an agonizing process for me, but it's good writing, you know? So what honestly, it was the catalyzation of the Me Too movement that finally got me to get over my crap. Like, all right, the things that I do and have been addressing for 20 years is now a national, if not international, conversation. I need to get this out. People are ready now. For a long time, I felt like I was talking to a wall with these things. Men weren't. I was constantly trying to figure out like, how do I get men to even fucking sorry, even pay attention to what I'm trying to say here, and finding these different avenues in or what have you. But there was a noticeable spike. It was a noticeable spike of interest from men in this type of work post Me Too. That more men are introspecting and looking at these things and trying to figure out, all right, how do I do this better?
That's an interesting point. The Me Too movement is a very strong feminine point, right? Right. It is females who initiated the hashtag, but yeah, how do men respond to that? Or that is an
Right.
interesting topic. How are they supposed to respond to that or react to that? Of course, wanting to be respectful and not wanting to overstep. And interesting, you are the one helping to guide that conversation for them.
Yeah, there's a range of ways in which men are responding, but the uh, what I was seeing a lot of initially was men primarily falling into two extremes, and these generalities, of course. One is a set of men who were responding with uh, anger, resentment,
Mm.
just wanting for this fad to be done with, move on to the next thing. All right, are they done yet? And not really getting the gravity and not wanting to. Uh, and if anything, just wanting to kind of reassert dominance, essentially. And then there are another set of men who uh, have responded more with collapse and disempowerment,
Mm.
fear of saying or doing the wrong thing, wanting to make sure that they're coming across as that good guy. They don't want to be seen as one of the first set of people that I spoke of, and are definitely afraid of being seen as that. Afraid of coming across as a creep or even worse, criminal. And so instead they've shrunk themselves. They've shrunk
Mm.
their expression, or are constantly trying to scan of, okay, what is she, whether the particular woman in their life or their idea of the larger woman, what do they want me to say or do? Okay, let me do that. And I don't believe that either one of them is really the most helpful or really what women are actually really wanting.
Mm.
And the evolved masculine for me is a lot about trying to highlight a third way, a way that really does uh, recognize and understand what is happening with women collectively, as well as deepening the understanding of the particular woman in his life. Embraces her rise in power, economics, her
Mm.
voice, her ownership of her desires and her sexuality, and utilizes it to as inspiration to deepen into more of what he's capable of being in his own growth as a man.
Wow, that is really powerful. Well, thank you for the work that you're doing. Transitioning back into the book launch. So, what inspired you to reach out to Amber Vilhauer to help support you with your book launch?
Uh, a a friend of mine in my community here, Andrew Gottlieb, who runs No Typical Moments, uh, essentially a Facebook ads company that's got a lot of integrity, and I really dig him and his company and what they're doing. I came to him talking to ask for help on that side, and he said, "You know what? I don't think that what we do is what you need the most right now. You need a company that really focuses on launching a book." Do that, and we can circle back afterwards. Once again, speaks to his integrity and the
Mhm.
way that that business is run. It wasn't like, let's land this client. It was I actually think I know what would serve you better. Go there first. And then he met Amber at a related event and said, I think I might have found the person for you. When I checked out her website, I'm reading through, it was speaking to me. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, I'm your target. I'm your target client here. So we scheduled this call, we spoke, and I'm like, she's a powerhouse. It comes across immediately that she's a powerhouse. Um, she's very clear. She's no nonsense. Um, Again, I felt like I was in a lot of my anxiety around the book launch process, and she just felt very, very clear and very solid, and like there was very clear direction. And I'm like, all right, I think I can relax into this. And that's honestly was a big part of what I needed at the time.
Um, tell us about the launch experience overall. So I feel like it went pretty quickly for you. As I mentioned before, we had started working together in November, and with the holidays, man, it felt
Mhm.
like time went by so fast.
Yeah.
But you and your team, of course, contributed,
Oh
quite
yeah.
a bit. We gave you guys instructions and you guys took it and you ran with it.
Mhm.
But overall,
We
how do
worked
you
very
feel
hard.
the
I'm sure
launch
that
experience?
helps. Like I have a high work ethic, and I'm extremely dedicated to whatever it is that I'm doing around this. So it helps if you really believe in your book, and I do. So I would do whatever needed to happen, and arguably I did more than needed to happen because of the fear or anxiety of like, what if I do miss something or do something wrong and miss this one shot, and which she really tried to instill in me. Look, like, yes, I'm gonna pour a lot into this, and this is a long game at the same time.
For
And
sure.
she's
Yeah.
been right.
So speaking of the long game,
Mhm.
what are some things you're working on now? Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements
Mm.
or seminars or perhaps some webinars coming up that complement the book even?
Yeah, and let me say that from the launch day forward, I just feel like I've been kind of inundated with new opportunities in one form or another. Um, whether it's interviews, certainly lots of podcasts and online summits, etc. So much that I've needed to learn more discernment and say no to more things so that I can have the time and spaciousness for the things I really need to say yes to. I just came back from 9 days in Vancouver, where I was keynoting the Co-Creative Sex Summit up there, which was actually a really fantastic event. I'm going to South by Southwest in a few weeks, and then to this event called PAWA, PAWA, in San Francisco in March, where amongst other people, well, I'm sharing a stage with Sting,
Oh my
like
gosh. Nice.
Sting, Jason Silva, online sensation with Shots of Awe and other things, Daniel Pinchbeck, the author of Return of Quetzalcoatl, and I forget all the names of his books. We're in like 5 of them. A number of people and like some indigenous elders who are being flown in from the Amazon for this event.
Oh my
Like it's really a pretty incredible looking event, and I'm really honored to be a part of that as well. So that's in March, as pawa.life. Um, and yeah, another on stage speaking gig that I just got for May over here in the San Diego area is literally like I'm trying to figure out how to navigate it all and making sure that my calendar works with all these things that are coming in. And I'm not saying, filling it with things that turn out to not been the best use when more important things are coming in that I wouldn't be able to say yes to.
So any long-term goals? Is there another book in the works? What do you think?
You know, I'm a little torn on it. I don't think soon. I lean towards the next project either being the TEDx talk
Oh,
or uh, I've been toying with the idea of creating a documentary,
interesting.
and either one would supplement, and this way the book and either of those projects support one another. But I'm feeling like that would be the better route right now than focusing on the next book.
Okay, I love that. Well, you'll have to keep us posted on what you're doing. So that's
Mm.
exciting.
In the meantime, this was a
Maybe
great
last
catching up.
question for the day. Any advice for those who are thinking about writing a book or who are in the process of writing a book now and maybe thinking about that launch process? Any advice you want to share with the group?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, just do it. I mean, most people will say like they want to write a book, and a small percentage of them actually even really get it started, and a smaller percentage get it completed, and a smaller percentage actually publish it. So be that exception. be that that percentage that actually just brings it across the finish line, whatever it takes. And you may not be able to see everything from here on what will open up for you on the other side, but things will open up for you on the other side. And then along with that, just what I already spoke to is, remember, it's a process. It's not like, okay, I got done, now let me just sit back. It's just, okay, now we're in the next phase, and continuously getting the book out in one form or the other.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. Some really great information. And again, the name of the book is The Evolved Masculine. And there it is.
Can you tell I'm a little proud of my book?
And to any viewers looking for more information, Amber does offer a free course. I will put it in the comments, the link to the course, but it is ambervilhauer.com/book course. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. We will respond. And again, thank you, Destin.